How to get faster, stronger, quickly. Well, if you paid attention to the other videos that I just put out recently, the last two, one was about failing, and then the other one had the Batman quote, "Why do we fall?" Well, in both of those videos, I think it was both of them, I used a gym analogy, which I'm known for because it's the simplest way for me to make the complex simple for a lot of people, especially with all the fitness movements and stuff like that that people follow now because of, well, influencers and social media. So let's get into it, right? First thing I want to talk about, and I have 4 points to make here, is one, why oxygen efficiency is important, right? Well, if you have no oxygen or you have the lack thereof, that also dictates how your blood cells are going to respond, i.e., your red blood cells, your whole body, your brain, and everything else. So, the efficiency, the way oxygen is used, is extremely important when it comes to getting faster and stronger. Now, let's go to the second part here, right? The transfer of energy. What do I mean by the transfer of energy? Well, when you are getting into shape and you want to get faster and stronger, you want to have, how do I say this? Either enhanced exercises or compound exercises that go into, well, not just functional fitness, but it also pertains to, well, what it is that you do in life, right? And do you have children? If you have children, you're going to need more oxygen efficiency, so you're going to need to work out and include cardio. Now, when it comes to the energy transference, the more energy that you put out is how you train your body to build a bigger storage facility, or train it. It's an analogy, metaphor, mixed with a lot of stuff. But let me give you an example, right? If you train your body every day to put out, let's say, 75% units that you have in your body, right? So 75 units out of 100. Well, that leaves you with 25 units for the rest of the day, so on and so forth, until you go to sleep and recover. And then, of course, your body has to repair and then restock based upon what you ate and put in your body. So the next day, you now have, let's say, a little bit more units. You have 125 units because your body saved up, said, we might do this again, etc. Or let's say within the span of 48 hours, if you take off, right, and you work out every other day. So you work out at 8 a.m. on Monday, and then you don't work out again until Wednesday, right? Having a nice 48 hours off, give or take, right? Well, within that period, how much calories did you put in your body? What were they? Was it protein, carbohydrates, fats? What kind of fats, if that case? So on and so forth. There's a difference between McDonald's and honey roasted peanuts, lightly honey roasted peanuts, etc., or plain peanuts. So remember that. And then, of course, while you're repairing, your body's not dumb. Just as your hand gets calloused, your body creates more and more units in order to balance out the workload that is coming, right? So the days that you don't work out, how many of you have realized that after about 2 days and you recovered, you have all this energy? Well, it's because your body's used to putting out that energy during exercise or whatever the case may be. So on your off days, you feel as though you have more energy because you actually do, right? And then that quickly builds up. Now, increasing performance in action. Remember when I talked about enhanced workouts or compound workouts? What do I mean by enhanced workouts? Well, let's say you're a runner. That's great. Go get a weighted vest or a camel pack, right? That, is relatively in size. When you fill it up with water, because you're not used to running with weight, you can start off with a large camel pack, right? And then as you're running, drink the water. It reduces the weight because it goes into your body, easier mode of transportation because the weight is now shifted. and so on and so forth. And then you progress to, let's say, a backpack that has a camel pack feature, and you put some weights in there, like a 10-pound dumbbell, and you build up and go running. That's an enhanced workout, right? Or let's say you're not into running because you're the type of person that doesn't run. Well, you can do burpees, let's say 10 to 15 burpees in between your sets, right? If you're lifting weights and you're going from bench to squats because you're doing a full body workout, you're going to do about 10 to 15 burpees in between. If you don't know what a burpee is, Google it. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's relatively easy and I don't have the time to show it to you. But you do that in between and take about a 60-second break, right? Or recovery period of 45 seconds, right? Your body, because it had to put out that oxygen during the cardio, which is what cardio does, it increases your oxygen efficiency. But now you're going to go into anaerobic because now you're lifting weights after doing cardio and speeding up your heart, which will bring you above, just above the fat burning zone, which is like, what is it, 135 or something like that, if I remember correctly, or 120 beats, depending on body type and everything like that. So 120 minus your age, I think it is. However, you get to your fat burning zone and just above it, and now you're putting out for longer periods of time with either more weight or whatever. Squats is functional. How many times are you going to have to lift or pick something up off the ground, etc., that might be heavy? Benching is, or shoulder press, right? I would more so suggest shoulder press versus bench. Yes, bench works out your chest. Shoulder presses are more functional with dumbbells. How many times are you going to pick up boxes and stack them on top of shelves, right? Which is the basic movement of a shoulder press. And then the squats will help your stabilizer muscles and your lower back, so that when you are picking up heavy boxes, or let's say you're a farmer slinging hay, manure, whatever, you're more efficient in that case. And then of course you got deadlifts, but you did now burpees. Instead of taking that, nice, sweet, do nothing break, you did something that sped up your heart rate in a aerobic way, not an anaerobic way, right? Which will force your body to put out more oxygen. So it forces your body to understand how much oxygen is needed and how efficient it has to be in the future. So let's say you do this type of exercise or workout or incorporate it into your current routine, and I guarantee you do this for about 30 to 45 days, all right? Let's say, 30 to 45 days. Now, I had a friend of mine, we would go on a treadmill. I would literally put him on a treadmill for about, let's say, a mile, give or take, at a moderate pace, a light jog, and then sprint the last, let's say, 0.3 or 0.5. Because we were doing 1.5 miles total. Sometimes I would just do a mile and break it up, light jog halfway, and then sprint, and then jog, and then bring down the heart rate, but then go into weights. And as we progressed, the time where he went to go test himself without doing the cardio, just going straight into weights, he had not only significant gains, but he wasn't as tired as he thought he was going to be, because his body started to develop the habit of putting out so much energy during the cardio portion in between sets, whether that was with burpees or before the workout, on the 1 mile run or 1.5 mile run, etc., with sprints involved, and then going to lift weights. So when we eliminated that portion, not only was he stronger, he was faster when he separated the two. This is why hybrid workouts work so well. Now, most people, if they're blue collar, they are going to have to use their legs, their lower back, and everything else. However, you're not always going to be doing cardio. So you might as well do it when you have the chance, and then on your off days, you can outperform the days in the past because, well, you're more efficient now. Finally, the recovery after training. So there's different methods to recovery. Use what works for you. Most people will go ahead and obviously eat protein, but only have and restrict your cheat meals to what you're able to resist from at the current moment. If you have strong willpower and you could say no to Jack in the Box sweet delicious double cheeseburger, by all means say no to it. But I know if I want a Jack in the Box double cheeseburger, I'm going to have to go run, probably with a weighted vest, do a lot of weightlifting and sprints in between to burn as many calories as possible, and then possibly go enjoy just the burger. Sometimes I may order the curly fries and have like one or two, but just the burger. That's all that's needed. And then I would probably fast the rest of the day because that meal is like 1,200 calories. So I digress. Use what works for you. Some people use ice baths. That works very well. And all it is literally filling up your tub with ice and water and sitting in there for a little bit amount of time. But always try to make sure you break what's known as the thermal barrier that I learned from Joe Rogan that develops when you get in the tub. He said this in a video because he has some type of like cold plunge thing, and he was describing how it breaks the thermal barrier. So if the water is not moving, the heat that comes off your body creates this like thermal barrier around you. If the water begins to move, it breaks that. And so the water feels colder, you get more out of it. Long story short, it's good for you. And then of course, if you take any multivitamins, I would highly suggest that. And I would also suggest, if you're going to be exposing yourself to the environment a lot more, I would possibly take a garlic supplement at least 3 times a week. You can look up this fact on ChatGPT, but garlic is extremely good for the body. You can get it as a supplement at like Target or Walmart. It's not that expensive, but it's also known to kill bacteria, so on and so forth, which is quite funny, but true. And it also helps out with a couple other things. So play around with ChatGPT or your Google AI or your Perplexity and ask it, is garlic good for the body and what benefits it has on it? And I'm sure it could give you a list of resources. So that's part of the recovery period there. Let's see, we went over protein, the cold plunge, breaking the thermal barrier within the cold plunge, taking a multivitamin supplement. I would stay away from the creatine. I would use like coffee instead, and then only use creatine like, let's say, once a week, right? Taper off because of the cardio portion, right? You don't want to take creatine and then try to do cardio. It's like on top of working out with just weights, because creatine not only gives you energy because normally it has caffeine in it, but your body's going to put out and burn a lot, and you're going to feel like you're going to pass out sometimes. So I'm speaking from personal experience, and I'm not the only one that has done that. Imagine taking like 4 shots of espresso and then sprinting and then having that espresso hit your heart and it goes into overdrive, like you press the NOS button in a car too early and you're like, why am I so tired so early in this workout? So cut back, maybe drink a cup of coffee or maybe a double shot of espresso, and then put your energy out there, and your body will start to recalibrate because your body's not dumb. A smart man and a wise man once told me that the body's not stupid, or the brain is not stupid, right? And so, what's it called? Just think of it like that. And then I also talked about how your body, when you put out energy, the recovery period of not only what you put into your body, but how your body prepares, just like the callus, or creating more inventory of energy units, it starts to develop. ATP is great, but it wouldn't exist without the cell and the mitochondrion, and that needs to also communicate faster and efficiently. And anybody could tell you, and I think they put this on the History Channel, Vegas actually used to push oxygen into the casino to keep people more awake. Not only is oxygen good for you, but they poured pure oxygen in there. So people were like extremely awake, extremely energetic, and willing to spend more money. They quickly stop doing that. But you could definitely Google that or ask ChatGPT or Google's Gemini to provide you links to that little story. And if you got any value out of this, go ahead and smash that like button and don't forget to follow me. So I hope you guys find your freedom, and along the process, stay healthy. In other words, stay ready so you don't have to get ready later. You don't want somebody telling you you have heart issues because you sacrificed all your time on, let's say, school or your business or something else, and didn't focus at least 3 times a week with a full body exercise to focus on your body so that you stay in shape. Remember, if the more you go to the gym, the less you'll have to visit the doctor. The apple a day, that works with the hybrid workout that I mentioned earlier. So till next time, my friends, take care. Mwah. Peace.